and thank you, Chris, for calling me up here. Uh, I am Biplab Chkraborty, and I am coming from India. So I'll be talking mostly about automation testing because all my career I have been mostly doing this. I have been with testing for around 12 years now. So let me go to the list of the content for this year. So I'll be starting with my introducing myself, and there I'll be talking about some points which is not new to almost anyone, because almost all of us are working in testing, I believe, and most of us are also working in automation testing, so we know stuffs. So what makes me different from you is the experience, because a couple of experiences what I had, probably I have to share with you, and I think I'll be able to make you understand like where I'm coming from. And yeah, then we can start. Thank you. So I was born in India, and I am having almost 12 years of experience, as I have told, and I have graduated from India. So most of my career I have spent in India, and 2022, now it's 24. Yeah, so 2022 I have come to Japan. I have started working with Rakuten in Japan. Recently I have changed my job, and currently I'm working with Apple on behalf of LHS Group. So yeah, so that's pretty much of me, and I am having two passions mainly. One is coding, another is food. So of course food is a bit higher on the stack. Yeah. So currently I'm learning Japanese. I have some certifications that is called JLPT certifications, but yeah, my Japanese is little worse than my testing skill. Yeah. So yeah, that's my family. I have my wife and daughter, and my daughter is 2 years old. So yeah, that's how I am living in Japan. And I have worked with a couple of companies, like you can see like Cognizant, PwC, UI, and Sintel. So all these companies are really great companies. I have learned a lot of things from all of them. But as Mesut also mentioned, the team made the differences in all these experiences. Let us go. So I like to start with the allure of automation everything. So I think almost all of you would be agreeing that automating everything is not really feasible. But yeah, we have to choose things which is very regular, or which is very repetitive, that we have to automate. So we know that. But why this is still relevant? So I would like to start with this famous quote of J. Robert Oppenheimer, which is whom we call father of atomic bomb. So once he said that, especially after the explosion, he said this: when you see something that is technically sweet, you go ahead and do this. And later also one part he said, then we justify why we did this. So in my career I have seen many of this automation, everything has come from very pathetic management decision. So I would like to share one experience of one of my companies, and this is how things happened. So when instead of sweet, when you think something technically sellable, you try to do this, and especially the managers make people do it. So this is something I have seen in my experience. I'm talking about 2011. In 2011, I'm not sure how many of you have started the career, maybe many of you would have started, but let me tell you a couple of facts. In 2011, Selenium, the famous automation tool, or almost we use, just have released Selenium 2, that is the WebDriver. Before that, they were working Selenium RC, and that was not a fun tool to work. And the highly usable tools that time, it was QTP. Which is still there, that is called UFT, but almost very less amount of people, or many less amount of project use that, because that is quite expensive. So in 2011, like today, AI is a buzzword. Many projects are trying to work with AI, but probably they are not in the right direction. So that time, automation testing was kind of a buzzword. So automation was there, but still it was kind of a buzzword. So when you work in a service company, you do a lot of stuff to satisfy your client, because client is also not that technically sound to understand what exactly you are doing and what could be the consequence of that. So in 2011, there was a sudden escalation. I was in Sinton, so it was sudden escalation. It happened that there are a couple of defects found in EVT, not in production. So that was a defect leakage in EVT, and the things came on to us, and all of us were asked to work with the analysis that is called RCA, root cause analysis. And with RCA, we had to come up with a report. I had just joined, so I just started my career. So my team members, they were very sympathetic to me. So they worked till late night, and they made me work the all night. So yeah. So that time, after we submitted the report, the director of testing, he had a meeting with client. Client, definitely he was with anguish, because they tried, though it was not a production defect, but they told them why these defects were there. And the director of testing, who in our company, he was also not in a very good position to answer all the questions the client was asking. What he could have done in that time, that's what he did. He promised he would be automating all the functional testing. You mean all the functional testing what we had? When you tell this kind of thing, that you will be automating all the functional testing, it has a different meaning to us, and it has a different meaning to client who does not have that technical background. And what client understood, that you will be just clicking a button and like all the tests will be done. But that is not how it works. We had to have a couple of discussions. Test director should have done some discussion with us, who knew this thing, and then promised. But he did not do that. I understand, because he was also trying to save his position, save his job. Yeah. Then what happened? We did really chose some bad candidates of automation. So what were the bad candidates of automation? So there were, and let me tell you, the applications we are automating, those are not web application always. Those are desktop-based application. Those had multi-layered dependencies, multiple downstream systems, upstream systems. So it was a complex automation, complex environment of automation. So we really chose some bad candidates. Like some test cases were having dependencies of some OTP coming, or OTP used to become by email by that time, so it was not that good as it is now. We had some test cases automated, which were rarely used. Like we used to maybe test that occasionally, not in all the regression cycles. Some superficial UI automation, because there were a couple of defects, around 30 defects they have raised on a logo issue. The logo issue did not have 30 issues, but logo was there on 30 different pages. Then that's why 30 different test defects were logged. So that's how it was mandatory for us to choose this. Now, the tools were not that advanced to support a superficial UI automation that time. Now we have a lot of libraries. We have Python, we have Selenium, a lot of libraries in Selenium. We have a lot of GitHub projects. We can do that, but that time we could not do that. So we also had to remember what is there, what are the resources we had that time, and that was not supportive. And highly complex, but less priority test cases. So when I'm telling less priority test cases, that means it was not required to test all the time, and definitely it was not the priority one test case, or P1 test case, what we call. And some non-feasible test case also. Non-feasible test case, how we could automate? Because there were the tool that could not support all kinds of application elements, all kinds of the testable elements. But we had to automate that by putting some breakpoints or by creating some manual intervention points. So these kind of situation happened, and that was the consequence. We did that, and that led to higher failure rates, because we had multiple dependencies, which probably had, for example, OTP. Many times happened that OTP did not come. Many times happened the response from the downstream or upstream system did not arrive on the time, and failure happened. Interrupted execution, as I have told, we tried to automate some test cases which were not 100% automatable or feasible by the tool we are using. So the tool selection is also an important aspect. but by that time we had only this tool. Then we had manual intervention, of course, and all of this amounted to reduced ROI. So all we are looking for automation testing is ROI, so return on investment. We are doing a lot of stuff, but we are ultimately saving a very less amount of money. That's not the goal of automation testing. And ultimately, they're losing the trust from the test automation, because test automation was, as I was telling, in 2011, test automation was not very common. It was new. It was our responsibility to make client understand what is the benefit of test automation, make them trust on that on this service. But ultimately, we lost that. So then that's the takeaway, I think. So we should not fire a cannon to kill a fly, because ultimately it will burn your house, it will destruct your house too. So let us move to the next slide, that is understanding automation smart. So automation smart is basically, if we summarize, that comes into this pyramid. We call it agile test pyramid. I mean, even if it is not your project is not following agile, you still probably can implement many part of it. So this pyramid tells it all. How the testing should have been structured. We probably don't have to, I mean, being a QA automation tester, we probably don't have to worry much about this, but still in recent agile environment, the team is being created with certain skill sets that probably the tester will also have to work on that. But let us forget about that. Let us talk about the top three part of it. So integration testing, UI API testing, and manual and exploratory testing. The top one is very important. So when we do the automation, we often try to ignore the fact that manual testing is very much important. So automation testing is not replacing the manual testing. It is a myth. And automation and manual testing, when I'm talking about manual testing, it is mostly the monkey testing or exploratory testing, whatever you call. So if we do the automation in these two layers, more automation, more testing into these layers, a little lesser automation in the UI and API layer, and definitely we are not going to work on the top of the pyramid. That will amount to a lot of efficiency in the entire test process. Not only automation, but entire test process. So if we try to summarize what is automation smart and how we can achieve that, so we probably should have some certain skill sets and we should be working in a certain way. What is that? So firstly, we need to have certain understanding in the application architecture. It's not about the test framework architecture. Test framework architecture, we should be definitely having the understanding, but automation architecture or application architecture is must, because if you do not know how your particular part of component in the application is communicating to the next level, it is very difficult to track the traffic of it. So when I talk about traffic, it is the next point I'm talking about this. Know how to read the developer console. When we talk about developer console, often we think that it is the responsibility of the developer to read that. It's not, because there can be certain issues which probably will not be always reproducible, that is intermittent. But if you know how to read the console, how to read the failed API transaction from the network tab, it may help you. So the next one is cover the API testing, API transaction as much as possible, because I think almost all the applications these days are highly dependent on the API, and we have gone one level up on the API, that is called the microservice level testing. So we are having different independent microservices that is built independently and talks to each other, and that is very cohesive in nature. So API testing is the need of API testing is increasing, and if we do the API testing more, API testing is faster and more reliable, so we check most of the traffic very efficiently. So that's how it is. And integration testing, I was just talking about microservice based architecture, and if you do microservice based architecture in your application, if you have it, then a packed testing or consumer driven contract testing, what you call, that will really help. focus UI testing for UI validation. Any idea? I would like to ask, what does that mean? Like focus UI testing on UI validation. Definitely we'll be doing that. We'll be doing UI testing on the UI validation. Any idea? Like if we do all the API testing automated, what does this mean? Like UI testing in the UI validation. Anyone wants to say anything? Okay. So all I'm trying to say here is there are certain part in your UI, the application under test, which does not interact with the API. So for example, if you click it, if there is a login page and you are giving invalid credentials, you click on the login button, you get an error message. So in the error message, you'll be getting what is the error and what was the issue. But the way it is being represented in the UI and with the texts, often you do not get, and that comes from the UI level. So for that, you need to you have to collaborate with the developer to know what is being handled in the UI level and what is being handled in the API level. So collaboration with the developer is key these days, especially in the agile environment. And in waterfall model, we often do not interact with the developer a lot, but these days it is very important with the advent of agile technology, agile methodology, that we collaborate with the developers and we try to understand how we and what kind of test we should be having in the and what level. You know, many of you probably know this famous clip from the famous film, that is Modern Times by Charlie Chaplin. If you have not watched it, please go ahead and watch it. There is a scene of how it shows what is the risk of doing over automation or over reliance on the machine. So what could be the issue? The issue would be the higher volume, and if you are trying to do a lot of automation, as I was telling, always it will be a maintenance over it. So please remember, if you build something, you have to maintain that. It's not that you build it and you leave it to someone else and they will maintain it and they'll have the pain, because building is easy, maintenance is not. So maintenance overhead is one of the issues. Flexibility will be decreased. So when I'm talking about the flexibility, if you are having a lot of things automated which are unnecessary, so if the application is changing rapidly, if the requirements are coming rapidly, it will be very difficult for the test engineers to keep on updating the test suite every day. So please be careful about that. And ignoring the human insight. So human insight is important. So please do not forget. If your project managers are saying that your automation of these elements will be really helping us, please ask him, if we do this by automation, by manual, what could be the risk? Why we can't do this manually? And definitely setup process is very expensive. So choosing what to automate, you know that, right? What kind of test case we need to automate, but this is a summary. We have to understand that automation is not AI. It's not intelligent. You should expect what you have done. So you have to give the dumb jobs to the dumb robots. So one is repetitive task, you all know this. And the next one is the stable features and cases. That means the area of your application which is stable. Maybe in one application on one web page, that some area would be rapidly changing because that area is being developed rapidly, and some area would be very stable. So please automate the stable part. Don't automate the unstable part or rapidly changing part. And definitely the complex and high priority functionality, which will take a lot of time between manually, and you do it often, and high risk areas. So that's how we have to be very careful about choosing what we are going to automate. So I'm wrapping up. So that's my takeaway. Don't automate chaos. So the first area, the first section of my presentation, what I have told, if we try to automate everything, we are automating chaos. So please do not do that. And robots do not do magic. You have to understand that building a robot will cost you, and maintaining the robot will cost you even more. So please take care of that. And automation zombie apocalypse. So this is funny part. Many of our projects, many of our KPIs are built on how much we have automated. So you can automate a lot of stuff, but that probably might give you some prize in the shorter time, but ultimately you create a Frankenstein, because you have to create it, you have to maintain it. So please be very careful on that, and that's all. So if you have any questions, so please let me know, and also keep me posted. Please connect to me over the LinkedIn, and yeah, that's all. Thank you very much.